Dad asked if my allowance was enough at holiday lunch. I blinked and said, "What allowance?" His fork stopped midair. Mom's eyes dropped to her plate like she could hide behind it. That was the moment I realized I hadn't just been broke. I'd been managed. I'm Logan, 19, first-year med student in New York. Tuition was covered, but everything else was on me. I stacked tutoring, event gigs, and bar shifts until weekends weren't weekends anymore. Most nights I studied half dizzy, telling myself instant noodles were fine. Looking back, I didn't notice I was starving. I noticed I was failing, and I panicked. When I finally called Mom for help, she hit me with the same script she'd used my whole life. We can't. Be independent. Olivia, my 1-year-old sister, never got that script. She got praise for B's because she was special, while my A's were expected. Dad frowned sometimes, but he was always at the hospital. Mom ran the money. Mom ran the story. Then I checked Olivia's Instagram. Paris cafes, fashion shows, weekend trips. One rooftop photo had the Eiffel Tower in the background and a caption, "Mom always knows exactly what I need." I kept wondering if I was the crazy one. Were we suddenly broke, or was I just the only kid being told no? I called Olivia. "Mom wires me about $3,000 a month," she said, casual as breathing, "plus extra if I need something special." My stomach dropped. I hung up fast because I didn't trust my voice. A week later, I collapsed at my bar job. The room spun. The tray in my hands felt like concrete, and my knees just quit. I woke up in a hospital with an IV taped to my arm and a doctor saying exhaustion and malnutrition. The saline burned cold going in. My boss benched me for the month, which was kind, and also a pay cut I couldn't afford. So I flew home to Dallas for one night. Dad opened the door and stared. "Logan, you've lost a lot of weight." Mom went quiet. At lunch, Dad kept asking what I was eating, why I looked so thin. Then he said, genuinely confused, "Is the money I've been sending not enough?" I said, "I haven't received any money." Then it went slow. Dad's face drained, like all the blood left at once. Then he turned to Mom and didn't blink. Next, his voice dropped. "Paisley, did you send it?" Mom kept staring at her plate, refusing to answer. Again, Dad asked, louder, and the air tightened. Then she whispered, "No," like it was nothing. The AC hummed while Dad's ring tapped his glass twice. I couldn't tell if I wanted to scream or disappear. Dad shoved his chair back. "I told you to transfer $2,000 a month to him." Mom tried to sound reasonable. "Olivia needs it more. Paris is expensive. She has to look the part." I said, "You told me you had nothing to spare." Her head snapped up. "How do you know what I send her?" "Because I asked," I said, after I passed out from overwork. Dad's jaw tightened so hard I saw it twitch. "How much have you been giving her?" Mom hesitated. $3,000, sometimes more. Dad stared at her like she was a stranger. "So my son starved and collapsed while you funded luxury shopping," Mom actually muttered. "When you put it that way, it sounds bad." That's when Dad took control. He said he'd send my money directly, cut Olivia's allowance down, and he meant it. Later that night, he knocked on my door, looked wrecked, and dropped the twist. There was a family trust meant to be split equally at 25, and Mom had siphoned about $300,000 into an account in Olivia's name. He froze it and started moving it back. This was the moment I understood it wasn't favoritism. It was theft with a smile. Olivia called me furious. "What did you say to Dad?" "The truth," I said. "I didn't know," she snapped, then went quiet. "Would it have mattered?" I asked. She didn't answer. The next morning, Dad transferred $5,000 back pay for the months I'd been denied and told me, "Focus on school. I'll handle this." I went back to New York and bought real groceries like it was revenge. Vegetables, meat, fruit, food that didn't come out of a packet. With the pressure off, I cut most shifts, and my grades stopped sliding. Mom kept trying to sneak Olivia extra money. When Dad caught it, he filed for divorce. Olivia, forced onto a real budget, got a part-time boutique job in Paris. Months later, she admitted grudgingly, "It's actually not terrible earning my own money. I didn't get a new family. I got the truth, and once the lie died, everything else finally had to change."